Don't miss a retro blast from the past as we take a look at 10 years ago Forge World.
Spiky Bits.
What's up, Hobby Maniacs? Rob Baer with you again today, checking out the Forge World that was 10 years ago. This year, you can see the catalog on my right, 2017. It's a 85-page volume of delicious resiny goodness, partially in color, partially not. But there is a lot of stuff in here. I think you can agree. I mean, Forge World's lineup has been 100% transformed since 2000, what was it, 11, November of 2011, when the Horus Heresy was released. Book 1 came out, and let's just say nothing has been the same since. But a few years before that, it was 2007. Forge World was reinventing itself again, believe it or not. They had just completed a kind of a transformation coming out of the older specialist games years. So you can see right here on the very first page we get to. This is a completely black and white catalog, by the way. Completely coming out and transforming themselves from the offerings of War Master and Epic 40K, or I guess it was Epic Armageddon was the redo, and Battlefleet Gothic to something entirely different. And I guess they really didn't get their sea legs until they kind of did the Bedab War stuff in late 2009, 2010, which was immediately hugely successful and retrofitted or transformed into the Horus Heresy, and it kind of took off from there. And they've even retrofitted it from there, you know, to handle the new Mark III and Mark IV plastics as well that they came out with. So Forge World's always reinventing themselves, never a stranger to hobby YOLO and thinking up new things and new exciting products to offer everybody and kind of pushing that hobby envelope, which is what makes all good companies great, so to speak. And I think we can all agree that Forge World is a great company. I mean, I've had nothing but fantastic luck with them. Anytime I have a problem with an order, call them right up and they get me replacements out, you know, if not the same day, the next, you know, and it's great. They are a fantastic company to deal with. So let's take a look through the catalog of yesteryear. Of course, you can see here, and you're going to see a lot of stuff in here that you may remember, but you may have never seen before, or you may have never known that it started with Forge World. There's a lot of juicy Easter eggs in this one. I was flipping through it. I was like, oh yeah, I remember that. Oh yeah, I remember that. Wow, that was that much? Oh dang. All sorts of cool stuff in here. So first off, something that you might not have ever seen before is the Lucius Pattern Warhound Titan, not even offered anymore. This was the very first Titan to come out for Forge World. I don't know, I guess in here they're listed at $560. I wonder how much it is in this catalog here. I was comparing a few prices. For the most part, a lot of the things had increased, but some stuff had actually gone down, believe it or not. And let's see, so the Titan body with Titan weapon, $69.70, $140. This actually is, the Mars Alpha is only $30 more. So 10 years has gone by and it has only gone up $30 in price. The Chaos Warhound appears to be the same as well. So a lot of interesting prices to check out in here. I think the Warhound, or the Thunderhawk gunship, of course it's newer and it's a little bit smaller, was only went up 80 pounds in price. But again, you know, 10 years passed and a redesign, I guess you could kind of understand that, so to speak. It's probably a lot more true tolerance and things like that. So Lucius Pattern, or the Jackal class, you probably never even seen that before. Another thing, more things you probably never seen. You're like, oh yo, hey, those are Baneblades. Well, they are, but take a closer look at them. These are not the Baneblades you know. If you are used to the plastic kits, these are not them. These were full resin kits Forge World came out with right off the get-go in like 2001. This is the Mars Pattern Baneblade. I mean, just look at the front section right here. You can tell that is not the plastic version that you may have seen. Now, they started coming out with conversion kits late 2007 into 2008, when the Baneblade plastic kits finally starting to arrive on the scene, then they started doing conversion kits where you could get the stuff like the Stormblade turret or things like that to go on top of it. I'm not even sure if that's offered anymore. And of course, the Stormblade turret is just a retrofitted, you know, plasma blast gun from a Titan, kind of flipped around and reconfigured and sculpted in there. So there's a Lucius pattern and the Mars pattern Baneblade. I always preferred the Lucius pattern. Another cool thing, the Shadow Sword. Check this out. This is not the plastic one. This thing has a bipod to support the huge volcano cannon on the front, and it also has a fully detailed interior as well for all those power capacitors and all that stuff. Enough power to harness the sun and blast it out and turn rock into red hot liquid magma. That's where the volcano cannon gets its name from, believe it or not. So all of these, $280, $300 for a Baneblade. Could you imagine that? Right now, they're, I think, $150 retail. When they first came out in plastic around the same time this catalog is from, they were, I believe, $99 when they were first offered. So really interesting pricing comparisons in here, and just kind of a really cool blast from the past. Then we get into all of the crazy tanks. Now, some of these are not offered anymore. Some of these you've seen converted over to plastic, like the Manicore kit. This is now a plastic kit. The Hellhound, also now a plastic kit. I'm not sure if you can still get the Artima pattern. Some of these basilisks and things are still offered. Not sure if they offer the Chimera heavy turrets, but they still might. Atlas Recovery Tank, a great choice for the Index Imperials if you want to give your tanks a bonus. Also another good choice is the Salamander Scout vehicle, but I'm not sure that's even offered anymore. A lot of cool options in here for stuff that you may have seen. The Hydra started out with Forge World. Now it is, of course, the Hydra Wyvern plastic tank. So it's a conversion kit that you bought the turret to go on top of a Chimera, if you so desire. So $56 got you the resin centerpiece and the complete turret on the top, along with similar pricing for the Manicore right there. That's, of course, US pricing. Now we know those are no longer ported over to plastics by Games Workshop. More cool stuff here. They had the old Chimera interior kit for $36 US. That actually won't fit the current Chimeras. That was the older Chimeras where you had to glue the wheels and then put the treads on yourself. They've since updated that kit as well. There's a Trojan support vehicle. That is a complete kit and a conversion kit, but again, it wouldn't work with the current style tank that's out there. So if you do find those online, be careful. They might not work with the current plastic kit. The Earthshaker cannon platform, all the rage right now at competitive tournament scene. This is what the kit looked like. It is no longer available, but when it was $40 for the conversion kit, or $62 for the complete kit with the little feet pads right there. And that takes up a lot of surface. That's almost 9 inches in diameter. I remember measuring it out because I wanted to convert one up back in the day when they were available there. And a couple more basilisks and things that you really don't see anymore. Speaking of things you don't see anymore, the heavy bolter turret emplacement. You could also put any of the Lehman Russ turrets on this thing. This was a neat little piece of scenery that you could just take one of your plastic turrets that you had spare off one of your tanks, and boom, you got a little turret emplacement. They don't offer that anymore, but man, if you see one, that is a really neat little piece just to pick up and have for your tabletop if you have some extra turrets. Also not available anymore are the Saber Defense platforms. There are rules for them in 8th edition 40K. The searchlight right here actually goes on this platform, and all it is a tarantula bottom feet pad with this little ring around it with a centralized shaft that holds a weapon system, and then there's a little Imperial gunners that go on top right there. Now these actually are pretty decent for the points cost. 20 points for the Searchlight in 8th edition 40K in the current index book from Forge World, and then these go up. These are anywhere around 40 points for these little guys right here. And speaking of 40 points, Cyclops Demolition Vehicle. This little guy is super fun to play with in 40K 8th edition. They basically drive around and blow up. Poof. But they're small enough that they fit through the current set of plastic terrain from Games Workshop. They fit through the doors. You can drive them right through the doors, hide them behind stuff. There's ways to make these guys deep strike. You know, if you take the Elysians And they're just all sorts of fun. They're toughness 6, 4 wounds, 3 up save. They are incredibly resilient. You can field them in squads of 3 for force organization slots, and then they separate out. Their movement's 10. They blow up D6 inches during the shooting phase, and I think it's neg 2 or 3 D3 damage at strength 8, if I recall correctly. They're super fun. Little demolition vehicles, just zzz, boom. I love playing with my tanks in 40K. Then lots of cool accessories. You got a mine plow, armored skirts that probably might not fit the current Chimera out there, improved comms, all sorts of options that we used to have back in the day. The Titan Tech Priest, he was a nice little addition. You could put him in your Titan Mechanicum bay or repair bay in the back there with all the reactors. Titan Crew, Commissar Tank Commander right there, very cool stuff. And some Cadian Infantry upgrade packs. I'm not sure if those are still currently available. I think they are. And then, of course, fan favorite Death Korps of Krieg, or DKOK. These guys have been around for a hot minute, and they really haven't changed much over the years. But yeah, they first started coming on the scene about this time. Not sure when the Gorgon, oh, there it is right there. There's the Gorgon transport tank that they used to offer little guys. You could get rows of Death Corpsmen, like all stood up at parade, like at the ready, that you could put in there if you wanted to. More and more tanks. I mean, they had variants of everything back in the day, a Death Corps variant, and then of course the Mars Alpha variants. All of the artillery pieces. Here's your Earthshaker carriage for both the Medusa, or the carriages for both the Medusa and the Earthshaker. They were going for $116 for the complete set. I think this one is currently still available. Have not looked lately on there. And I'm actually not even sure what the Centaur, the little artillery truck, does. Maybe it makes your artillery pieces mobile there, which would be pretty interesting. And there's the Atlas combo packs. Speaking of Elysians, there's your dedicated Elysian troopers. They came out quite a while back, and the Drop Sentinel as well right there, and then just upgrade packs and heavy weapon teams. They would range from $48 to $62. You can pause the video and probably make out the rest of them right there. I like the little drop zone equipment. I don't think that's available anymore from them. And then we get into the flyers. Now, they've changed up the Thunderbolt. There is a new Thunderbolt out. I think there's actually a new Lightning version out, new redesign. The Marauder stayed the same. The Valkyrie, believe it or not, used to be a Forge World only kit, ported over to plastic. I want to say shortly after this catalog came out as well, and in like 2008, when the 5th edition guard book came out, when the Rise of Leaf Blower happened. So this was a full resin kit, believe it or not, before they ported it over to plastic. If you can find one, it is way more detailed than the plastic version, but obviously more fragile because it is completely resin. And then of course the Vulture gunship as well was a completely resin kit. Now it's a conversion kit to go along with the plastic set from Games Workshop. Now, a little pro tip, if you're thinking about picking up a Valkyrie or a Vulture for your armies, you do not have to glue the wings in, believe it or not. The tolerances are so tight, they'll slot right in, and it makes transport a whole heck of a lot easier if you don't put those in. And then all of the weapon options and Hellfire, Hellstrike missiles, and multi-lasers, Punisher, Gatling cannon, I'm sure is here somewhere as well, that you could take. Speaking of which, the Hellstrike missiles are a great weapon to take on your aircraft now in this edition, because they are not one use only anymore. Harvest Lighter, you're probably like, yo, I just saw the Harvest Lighter come out from Forge World. Well, it turns out this is about the time it was actually released back in the day. Now it's just got a reboot and a re-release, of course. But, you know, they're going back and redoing molds and things because they don't last, you know, through the years. You have to keep up with your maintenance on those. And the Aquila class Imperial Lander, not sure if that's currently available anymore, but that is the basis of what they used for that wreckage that came in the Battle for McCrag box set. Getting into the Inquisition and Necrons, there wasn't a whole lot available for Necrons. Now we have a couple of new smaller pylons and some terrain boards and kits and things like that, but back then it wasn't too much. Same with the Inquisition, not a whole lot, just some doors and Inquisitor Lock. If you read the story of Amphileon 4, well, you kind of know exactly what goes on with that guy. But yeah, for the most part, nothing too super crazy in here, just some really neat memories. And Space Marine aircraft and upgrade kits. There's the Thunderhawk transporter, which I don't think is currently available. and the old resin Thunderhawk as well. Like I said, US 750 pounds for 375. Now it's 450 from Forge World. Dreadnought drop pod. The actual Space Marine drop pod started out in resin, believe it or not, back in the day. Way smaller than it is now. It only had, it did have 5 sides, but it was definitely a smaller footprint than what we have in the current plastic kit. And it came with dudes that were standing up on the inside. This thing was $90 US. So thank God for plastic there, because let me tell you what, if you wanted a plastic drop pod, you didn't get one until like 2010, 2011. And man, these resin ones were not only pricey, but also very heavy to carry around and do an all drop pod army. The Vindicator actually was not a plastic kit at first. It was a resin kit available from Forge World. Now we have nearly identical kit available to us in plastic. We do not have to spend the $60 US for the complete resin and plastic kit. I actually think it's about $50 if I recall correctly. Over on the Land Raider side, the vehicle side, the old spaced armor, the old reinforced armor, the old dozer blade, the Damocles Command Rhino, which I think still has current rules in 8th edition, and the Land Raider reinforced and spaced armor, all of which I don't think you can get any of that armor anymore from Forge World. Razorback conversion kits, we've seen those. Hyperios, I don't think that stuff is currently available. Some Mark IV Ferris or Ferrum dreadnoughts. Of course, Contemptors are all the rage these days, but back then they had a ton of cool looking dreadnoughts. That was, I swear, the majority of what people bought from them sometimes. Doors for days. They haven't changed much through the years. Then you've got some of the platforms and stuff specifically for the Space Marines themselves. I think the Air Defense Command is no longer available separate right there, unfortunately. And the Red Scorpions were actually a big thing when the first Amphileon 4 book came out back in the early 2000s or mid 2000s. Now we have the reboot. Of course, that book actually, I want to say Forge World Book 4 Imperial Armor, I want to say it came out in 2014, but of course all those rules have been redone in the indexes anyway, so if you have those Imperial Armor books, they are great fluff, but they don't do much for rules anymore. Running into Chaos, both Land Raider door set and Rhino door set, 17 euro, 10 pounds, or $20 US. I'm actually wondering what those go for these days from Forge World. I'm checking them out right here. So 14 pounds, 18 euro, or $23 US. So 10 years later, have only increased in price $3. And reinforced and space armor, which I don't believe is available anymore. Very, very, very cool stuff. Chaos, we got the Chaos Renegades. They're all still currently available. The Dreadclaw has been, I think, discontinued. But when it was available, it was a $160 kit, and the little wings or legs, actually you could move them around and they could do different things. We also saw the Revenant Titan. I don't think the Phantom Titan came out until about 2011, 2012. Give or take. Eldar Avatar, lots of upgrade kits, lots of heavy flyers and such. Orcs had, oh man, just a ton of cool things. Cool upgrade kits, just single kits, all sorts of stuff. I'm not sure what's currently available, but hey, if you're an Orc player, pause it, take a look at this nostalgia right here if it is no longer available. Then you've got the Tau, and believe it or not, the Tau Mana actually has come down in price. I checked it, $1,790 for the Tau Manta back then. Now it is $1,749, I believe, in US in the catalog from 2017. Lots of Tau Crisis Suit upgrade coolness right there, and more Commanders and Narlocs. I don't think the Narlocs are available anymore, actually. Very sad. Those things were almost as jovial to see on the tabletop as anything Nurgle. Tyranids had all sorts of big baddies. Of course, the Hierophant Bio Titan was a fan favorite, still is. You got all your hero duels. The Trigon actually Not available initially in plastic. This was a forge roll kit. If I had one of these, I actually had one when the plastic kit came out, and I compared the two together. There's a video here on the channel, as a matter of fact. This thing is like 100 times more detailed than the plastic kit. The ribbing, all sorts of the plates and everything like that. This looks more like an alien queen with a tail, you know, from the movie than the plastic kit that came out. US $150 at the time, if you can believe it. It's crazy. Thank God for plastic, right? More Tyranid stuff. The winged hive tyrant with slicing talons. I don't think any of the winged hive tyrants are available anymore. These ones are classic, at least in my eyes, because they have that head like the queen from Aliens as well. Some more terrain, and then we've got the Imperial Fortress, which amazing kit. If you've ever seen one of these in person, the detail is just stupendous. It's ginormous. It fits up the whole, like, it's 4 feet wide. It's just an incredible piece of terrain from Forge World. And speaking of which, incredible pieces of terrain, the Amphileon base kit that came out with the release of the book. No longer available, but super dope nonetheless. This little picture here kind of shows you everything that came with the kit. $880 if you wanted to add in the, what is it, the storage complex, the fuel depot, and the landing pad. That would get you done at $1250 US all day. Very cool terrain. Never saw it in person. Actually, no, I did. I saw it at a battle bunker, but I didn't get too close to it because they were working on it or something. But man, let me tell you what, people still love that old Amphileon terrain if you can find it, especially this crazy defense platform with like the ginormously oversized autocannon thing. Here it is right here. It also goes with the defense platform. The Earthshaker emplacement, believe it or not, is right here, and that's a piece of terrain in and of itself. Actually, is that the emplacement or is that just a piece of terrain? I want to say that, where is it? Because I know a lot of people field these now. Where is the one with the foot pads? I know we covered, there it is, Earthshaker cannon platform, Earthshaker emplacement. Interesting. $60, and then complete resin and plastic model. So it came with the Earthshaker cannon that went right on top. Some crashed wreckage, more Imperial pillboxes, the Dragon's Teeth tank traps. Of course, a lot of this stuff has been superseded by plastic terrain. And then in the back, this is part of the transformation Forge World was going under. They took a lot of the epic stuff, kind of turned it into Aeronautical Imperialis, and was selling that. They took a lot of the Thunderhawks and things like that too, and some of the smaller ships, the Grot bombs from Battlefleet Gothic, and some of the defense platforms and things they ported over from Epic for use in this game too. And then in the very, very back, well, not too much going on with fantasy, but they did have a few things in here like ginormous demons and some terrain and the ginormous Warhammer giant that has definitely been a fan favorite. And the Ogre Rhinox Cavalry actually started out, well, was inspired. I guess the current thing we have now is inspired by these sculpts right here, the current plastic kits, and Ogre Rhinox Thunderlord as well. Never got a chance to see any of those in real life, but I tell you what, I am sure they are incredibly detailed, judging by all the other kits I've seen from Forge World. And then in the back, you can definitely tell the date of this publication, because none of those box sets are the current artwork. But that's the old style from the 90s, the newer 2000s, the aughts, so to speak, style right there. And then you've got more of the current towards the late 2000s into the 2010s style right there. And then there's the original couple of books just coming off the update in 2006, where they were still tinkering around with the rules for flyers. They hadn't quite got there yet. Of course, flyers are an everyday thing now in our games of 8th edition, but back then they were still kind of working all of the strafing runs and things like that out, and you had to turn on the spot, and you come in on here and you drop a bomb like this, and this is where it all came from right here, the update 2006 Imperial Aeronautical Imperialis rulebook. And then of course they were up to book 4, which we knew they went all the way up to book 13 and then started over but now we have the index books in 8th edition. So great little blast from the past there. I hope you enjoyed it. We went a little long, but hey, I think it was worth it. Man, that really took me down memory lane right there, and I hope it did for you as well. And of course, if you've never seen any of that stuff, well, hey, awesome. That's what it's all about. That's hobby goodness in these retro videos we do. We have a ton of awesome just things just laying around to show you guys, and sometimes we get to it, sometimes we don't, but I felt like this was the time. 10 years had gone by, why not? So if you like these features here on this channel, make sure you subscribe to us and turn on notifications so you can be the very first to like and comment on our posts, and head on over to longwar.net. That's the home of the battle reports for exclusive content, early access videos, and more. Become a veteran of the Long War today.